What's going on? It's Kevin Kenny, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Build Series live here from New York City. And our guest today has been on an absolute tear as of late. Hit singles like Love Alone and the new one everyone's digging, With You. Over 700,000 fans listen to his music each month on Spotify alone. Please join me in welcoming Mokita to Build.
Thanks for having me, man.
What's going on? Is it weird when someone's like hyping you up and you're just like sitting there waiting to say something?
I don't feel very important, so yeah, it's always weird.
We usually do that when you're in the back, but you're so nice you're going to perform for us today. So we're out here with a little abbreviated chat, but we're going to get to the good stuff in not too long a time. But thank you so much for stopping by. Your journey, man. Very excited. I've been a fan of your music, as I told you in the back, for I guess like 2 or 3 years now. I found you with a collab you did with an artist named Cade. Yeah. But you don't have the traditional journey that you'd imagine when you hear your songs. You're not some DJ. You are a producer now, but you're traditionally trained in music. You started piano lessons 5 years old.
Yeah, I started doing classical piano at 5. I got it. I hated it, but I stuck with it because it was like my parents were like, "You do this," or it was kind of like an option of that or swim lesson, like swim team. So I was like, I'll stick with the piano, and so I did the piano and then picked up guitar at around 13. So to impress a girl, but it didn't work. But I learned guitar.
It didn't work. Did you write a song for the girl?
No, I didn't. That's probably what I should have done.
So what was the plan? You were just gonna get a guitar and she was gonna like love you?
Well, I think I saw one of my buddies playing guitar and she was just like so googly-eyed, and I was like, I gotta learn how to play guitar, but he got her. So
got her.
Yeah.
What song did he play?
I don't remember what song he played. It was terrible. I remember it being terrible.
Did you try to learn this guitar, or was it like I'm just gonna show up to school, I'm gonna hold the guitar?
I could play a D and a G.
All right, there you go.
There's a lot of songs with that, just D and a G.
Oh yeah, I mean GCD, man, that's like 90% of pop hits ever.
Yeah.
Well, between 5 and 11, or 5 and 13, at 11 you started writing songs, I understand.
Yes, terrible songs. I started writing terrible songs at 11.
On piano, I'm assuming.
Yeah, piano. So I had a piano teacher at the time who I was doing classical, but I think she just kind of saw that I loved music other than classical, like pop music. She was a big pop music fan, and so we started learning other stuff. And I think she just kind of was like, I'm gonna let him try to work on some of his own stuff. And so she like gave me a lot of freedom to be like, it would be cool if you like made something up and came back and so it started like that when I was like 10 or 11, and then I had always sung. I grew up in the church singing in choir and all that stuff. So I naturally was singing, so these melodies, and then started to put lyrics to them about love that I knew nothing about, and just what I heard on the radio. So it kind of started like that.
What were those early songs about, though? In addition to like specifically, of course you don't remember lyrics, but remember themes of like what you're writing about as an 11-year-old?
I think they were pretty like grandiose themes. Like they were like about it was like world, like all world songs. It was just, I mean they were terrible. There were some songs about like heartbreak and love that. Dude, I didn't even like girls. It was just like that was just what everybody else was writing about. Yeah. I was just trying to copy.
Stuff you see on TV. You're like, I can write
exactly.
About that. Well, at 5 years old, if you start that early, it gives me the idea that you were born into some sort of musical family. Is that true?
Yeah, everybody in my family does a little bit of something. My dad plays acoustic guitar, and nobody has any formal music training. My mom plays piano by ear, and everybody can sing. So there's a little bit of something. My brother plays drums. And so everybody's got a little bit of musicality in them. So.
Were you in the church choir?
Oh, yeah.
You were, right?
Oh,
So you're a pretty big singer growing up.
I never considered myself really like totally a singer. When you're in a choir, you just kind of feel like you're just kind of filling a spot. Like I didn't really have solos or anything.
Right.
I was more of like a player when I was younger. I got more into singing as I grew more into like singer-songwriter type music when I was like 13, 14, around that age is when I really started to like enjoy singing. And
who'd you fall in love with when you started discovering, because you have this voracious appetite no matter where you point your focus as an artist. Of course, it started in piano, it sounds like, and then it moved to guitar eventually, that singer-songwriter. Who did you just like consume more than anyone else?
Oh man, there was a lot. I was a huge fan. I was really into the pop punk scene when I was younger, but then I transitioned. That was the musicality and melody. That's where I kind of got all that, the love for melody. And then John Mayer and John Foreman of Switchfoot were like 2 huge songwriters and just singers for me who were just like, the guys at the time didn't have these amazing voices, and I never had this like huge, powerful voice. That kind of helped me want to sing. I could be like, if those guys like who have fine voices, but they're not like these amazing singers.
Yeah.
It's like I can sing. I think I can sing.
Yeah. No, you're doing a good job of it. And then you switch your focus, really not even that long ago, to producing, and you become obsessed with producers. You just want to learn everything you can about producers. So what producers do you fall in love with?
Oh man, I mean Max Martin was the one for me that just like I just started going through his whole discography of just seeing what makes a pop song. I've always loved pop radio, even from a young age. So just listening to his song and like the choices he makes, and just like minimal production that makes sense. Everything has its place. Yeah, I just fell in love with simple, minimal pop production.
What for someone like you who has studied Max Martin? I mean, of course, you guys probably know Max Martin as people, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Britney, up to Taylor Swift, Katy Perry. The list goes on and on. What makes him so great, in your own words?
I really think it's simplicity. I think it's simplicity and relatability. I think all the songs that he works on that work they're relatable, but they're also simple. They're easy to digest, and the decisions he makes in production, just to me, are just like nothing like catches. You're like, oh, that's weird. It's just, it kind of makes sense in whatever.
And it's
reason.
almost like if you have this in your music too, where like when you have a minimalistic approach at times, when you do deliver a big sound, it means so much more.
Totally.
Yeah, it's way more
exactly.
impactful, for sure. Well, you're born in Nashville, North Carolina, and then eventually you moved to Nashville. And it strikes me because you're not necessarily a country artist by trade. What is it like living in Nashville and not making traditional country music?
Well, I think my view of Nashville before I was there was like most people's, that it's primarily country. Graduating college and then working a job, Nashville was the easiest move instead of just jumping to LA and not knowing anybody. And I didn't know anybody in Nashville either, but that was a little closer to home. Yeah. So that was kind of what propelled that move. And I actually, when I first started in Nashville, was writing country, because I didn't know there was anything else there really, and I knew I loved songwriting. So that was kind of the first thing that I jumped into. So I'm kind of used to that. I got used to the songwriting aspect of Nashville, and I think that's what really helped me grow in loving songwriting in general, and not just production or just like certain acts. It was just like the song is what I fell in love with.
Do you ever think back to that decision? And I don't know if it was a real decision you made or not, but whether to go to LA or stay in Nashville, because I feel like that's a divide in your story too. Because you go to LA, you're probably going to be chasing hits. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Whereas I think you just built such a strong foundation in Nashville, as opposed to that, that quick turnaround success that a lot of those writing sessions in LA can sort of lead to.
Yeah, I don't even think it was necessarily a decision of like, should I go to LA or Nashville? It was just like, I'm gonna try it for a little bit, and if it just fails, I'll just go back home. Or
shorter drive, right?
Yeah, exactly. Shorter and back for free food. So it was like, that makes more sense. No, but I think LA would have maybe set me on the wrong foot going there first, because I do trips there all the time now, but I think getting that base of like learning how to write a song was just the most important thing for me, and just failing for a couple of years, just like not doing anything and just
figuring it out.
Yeah,
totally.
Absolutely. And it was easier for me to figure it out in Nashville because it was just a little smaller, a little less competitive, and I could kind of like get my feet wet without having to feel like I'm just totally overwhelmed.
Right. And like you sort of alluded to, it's far more than just a country town these days. I mean, like East Nashville is almost like a little bit like Brooklyn here in terms of the flavor.
It's got the hipster vibe.
Yeah, totally.
$10 coffees.
Yeah, exactly. You know it well. I was saying in the back to your team, what I really enjoy about your music is not necessarily to say you're an EDM artist, because I think you're across a lot of genres. You honestly could be considered pop by most standards, but it's very lyrically dense music, and that's not something you get with the sound that you have. You think that can be traced back to your time in Nashville?
Yeah, I think Nashville is definitely a contribution to that. I also just think growing up, the songs that really affected me were more emotional songs that said something that I could relate to personally. I mean, when you're a teenager and you're angsty and you're an emo kid, it's like the songs you love are the ones that are either the darkest or the most emotional. Like, those are the songs that you relate to. And so those were always the songs that I loved the most, were the ones that were relatable, honest, and just, so very straightforward.
When you think back to those early influences, is it more the lyrics that you remember or you were drawn to, or is it more like the sounds?
I think at a younger age, it was definitely melody was what, that's why when I was younger, I could not remember, like when I was singing in church, I could not remember lyrics. I knew all the melodies, but I could not remember the lyrics. And I think it's just because I loved melody. That was like the first thing I fell in love with, was melody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of these recent releases. We got the artwork here for Love Alone. Just the backstory on this song.
That one, I wrote that in February of this year, and I was actually working on another song. Not writing, I was just at home by myself, just working on some production stuff. And just was on my computer and was on the piano and just played this random riff just as I do, and I'm sometimes just jamming, just kind of stuck on an idea or something, and just kind of just messing around. And I played that chord progression, and I wrote the song in 30 minutes, and that's not something that just like happens. It just happened in 30 minutes. It wasn't like I had a preconceived concept or anything like that. That's just kind of how it happened. So it was very, very fast. And also after I wrote it, I didn't really think much of it because I was like, I wrote that in 30 minutes. There's no way that was good. And then I revisited the next day, and I was like, I actually really like this. And after that, I think 2 days, and the whole song was done, which is crazy because it never happens that fast.
Yeah. Do you have a personal barometer test like that in terms of like, let's revisit it a day later, let's revisit it in a couple days? What is your personal test of whether a song
Yeah,
can last or not?
I think I get excited initially, but I know that about myself. So instead of being like, this is the best thing I've ever done ever, I kind of like, I'm going to wait.
Yeah, you got to
I
stay
know that.
against it.
Yeah, because in the beginning, I would just be like, this is it. This is great. And then when somebody would be like, I don't know if it's that great. And then I would be like, but is it? And then the next day I'd be like, they're right, it's not that great. So I should have just waited and checked it out the next day.
Is this a personal story? Because it's essentially, it's funny, we had a country duo named Maddie and Tay on the show earlier today, and I was saying to them that what I really enjoy about Nashville singer-songwriters, cut from the same cloth that you are, is you're able to present these ideas that are, tried and true ideas, but in a totally new and creative way, in a clever way. And this is really a song about, not wanting to have your heart broken again after, having your heart broken again, not wanting to fall in love alone. Is this a personal experience that you drew from?
Yeah, I think everybody can can relate to like caution and going forward in a relationship. I think a lot of it's just being uncomfortable or nervous, or it happened before. So I think it definitely drew from personal experience. I think a lot of it's just stuff I've talked to my friends about, things my friends have gone through, things I've been through. So I think it drew from a little bit of everything that's kind of around my world, my friends and all that. Yeah.
I mean, nowadays you're writing, you're producing, and then of course you're performing these songs. Is that sort of an extension of your personality at all? Like, do you like to sort of be in control of everything?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I like have a hard time working on a song with somebody else sometimes, because it's like in my head I'm like, I always think I know what's right, and that's not necessarily true. But I'm like, oh, that person's wrong. That's not the right lyric, or that's not the right thing. So yeah, there's a side of me that like wants to be in control of every aspect. But also, as I've gotten a little bit older, I think I like, if it makes a song better, or if something makes something better, I'm totally cool just letting it play out the way it plays out.
Yeah.
So
you got the new song that came out on Friday, With You.
Yeah.
Tell us about that song.
Yeah, that one I wrote right after a breakup, and that one, everything that I write has been personal. So it's hard, but it's also like gratifying to be able to kind of almost like a diary kind of get it out. But it's always nerve-wracking to put out a song that is personal, just because it's like you want people to receive it in the right way, and you don't want it to be perceived as like I'm being needy or whiny, but I also want to be honest at the same time. So it's always hard putting out music that's honest and talking about content matter that actually is personal to you.
Right. Is there a part of you that hopes that the person that you wrote the song about hears it and realizes it's about them?
They already know.
They already know.
Yeah.
You think? Do you ever send it? Because I know some artists, they'll be aggressive. They'll send it to the ex.
Well, so I feel like in terms of respect, it's like I've never written like a mean song about anybody. Luckily, I've never even had the desire to, because I've never had that experience. But I just think out of respect, if like somebody knows, especially like that my friend group is like a small group, and so everybody knows everybody. So it's like I'm like, I just want to make sure that I'm like not being disrespectful to anybody, and because I didn't just want to like drop a song, and especially if that person knew.
Right.
I didn't want them to be like, this is about.
You ever clear a song with people? Like, hey, yo, this is coming out? You're not that specific, I feel like, where you'd have to do that.
I mean, but a lot of it's personal, but a lot of it is like maybe not exactly the exact, you write a song and it can come out a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be exactly about this is everything that happened and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, not really clear it, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about who you've worked with, both directly and indirectly, there's remixes you've done in the EDM world with bands like Cheat Codes. There's writing that's been done, in the vicinity of like Tyler from FGL, Florida Georgia Line, country, EDM, pop-ish music we're getting from you now. Where do you personally want to take your music going forward?
Oh man, that's a great question. That's a big vein. I love creating music, and I'm totally down for whatever that means in the future. I love working on my own stuff, and I love working on other people's stuff. So I mean, as long as I'm doing music, I'm happy.
Yeah,
So,
living the dream.
yeah, exactly.
Totally. You didn't have to drive back for that free food.
Exactly. Well, I still do that because it's mom's cooking. So, yeah.
Let's get to some fan questions that we have in the house. First one will come from right here.
How you doing? My question is, what was your first big break in the music industry? Like the moment you knew, like, I'm here to stay.
Oh, dude, I don't know if I've ever felt that moment. I don't know if anybody ever feels that. I think I talk to everybody, and it's like, even people that have had way more success than me, it's like every time you have something that works, you're like, will I ever have something that works again? So I feel that, where it's like something works, and then you're like, will I ever have anything that works again? Will I ever write a song again? I mean, every time I write a song, I go through this like immediate depression because I'm like, that song, I love that song I just wrote. Will I ever be able to beat that song or write something as good as that song again? So yeah, it's a constant battle. So
Thank you.
yeah, man.
Great question. All right, time for one more final question.
Hey, as a songwriter, I wanted to know, have you struggled with any roadblocks while writing song, and what is your method to getting over those?
Kind of like writer's block.
Yeah.
Yes, all the time. I think certain seasons of life are just, you just can't come up with anything that you like. I think for me, the biggest thing is just to keep writing. And I try to write a little bit every single day, and most of it will never be heard by anyone, and no one will ever cut it or put it out. But I think you gotta keep writing to get to the good stuff. It's like, I've probably written 10,000 songs, and there's probably 50 that I think are really good. And I'll probably write 100,000 more, and maybe 100, hopefully 1 or 2 will be great. And so I think you just gotta keep writing, and if you love writing, and you just know that you're gonna break through it.
That's true. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Good question. All right, well, you got the guitar right here. You're going to be very kind in just a little bit. Perform for us. What are we going to get from you today?
I'm gonna play a couple originals. I'm gonna play two that are out, and then one that's coming out soon.
Very cool. Well, guys, Mokita, you at home, don't go anywhere. We got a live performance from the man himself in just moments on BuildSeries.com. Stay tuned.